should be live. Audio should be working. I can't snap with this hand. I'm seeing audio levels. Just make sure my recording's going. October 10th, 10/10. 10/10/2020. All right, I can see myself on Twitch. And let's see. All right. I'll just see if at least one viewer hops on here before I start talking. Oh, Twitch is saying 3 viewers already. Wow. I don't know what happened. At some point, all of a sudden, when I start streaming, there'd be like 3 or 4 people that would be connected. It used to be I would just stream to like 0 or 1 people. 1 person. All right, well, a few people have tuned in, so I guess I'll get started. All right, well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Jared Oliver, aka Duranosaur. You can just call me Jared, though. I don't really necessarily prefer the alias Duranosaur anyway. But I kept it, so that's my name for everything else, so I'm stuck with it, I guess. Wise Dolphin 13, hello, good to be back. Hey, welcome to the chat. Yeah, thanks for hanging out. Yeah, so today's a Saturday, if I got my if my calendar is correct. So I try to stream on Saturdays when I can, just do kind of a little more of a laid back stream. Unfortunately, I don't really have anything super laid back to work on right now. I do want to shout out a few follows, offline follows. We've got Prince That Wasn't Promised. We've got Phil S31 and Ecton Dev. So thank you guys for the follows, and a little shout out to my brother Justin the Juice for, I think some of those follows came from him, and I think Ecton Dev came from retro MMO community. So thank you guys for following. And I hit 50 followers, which is another little milestone. So thank you to everyone watching now. Thank you for following. I really appreciate it. Yeah, well, so I've become a Twitch affiliate now. So I can do subscriptions and that sort of thing. Not saying you should subscribe, but, I just spilled coffee big time there. Wise Dolphin, very much welcome. Thanks for the content. Well, glad to have something that can entertain. And thank you, Wise Dolphin. I appreciate it. So yeah, I mean I reached affiliate, but that's all on the people there, all on the community. So Just a shout out to everyone. I know we've only got three people on there right now, but Wise Dolphin, you heard it. So one of the viewers is probably my wife. So, but if more people hop on, I'll be sure to maybe give another little shout out. Thanks for everything. So that's cool. Yeah, I was thinking, well, for a little chill stream, I was thinking of not working on my JavaScript game this morning. I was thinking of doing I was working on a little like command line ASCII art, command line program ASCII art animation thing in C, the C programming language. But I'm kind of learning C right now, and I'd have to kind of Google some stuff and like kind of be looking and reading things to kind of figure out exactly what to do, because I'm using some functions and everything that I'm not exactly familiar with how they work. So I'm kind of thinking of not streaming that today. I mean, that is a nice chill thing to do, because like I said, right now on my JavaScript game Trace Racer, none of my to-do tasks here are super easy or simple. There is some simple ones, but so I don't know. We might at some point switch over to this if I feel a little more like this. But basically, my goal is to have a little like command line program that'll run, and it'll just kind of like animate some ASCII art, you know, in the console, right? In a command line, command prompt, you know, whatever kind of command text shell, you know, should work. So I wanted to have like my little be right back message be a little command line program. So then when I need to be right back, I just pop open a little console and do brb.exe, and then it just has a little animated, you know, ASCII art that just says be right back. So a little more interesting than the notepad. Actually, Wise Dolphin, that might have been you who said the other day when I had, if this might not be you, this might not have been you, so who said this, but, you know, so I could totally be wrong for that, but I think you complimented me on my notepad be right back message. You're like, that's what programmer, yeah, it was you. Yeah, that's what I thought. And after you said that, so this is what I'm working on, right? Or well, this little idea of this be right back message program here was actually you sang that sparked me on. I was kind of like, well, I know Wise Dolphin appreciates the notepad, but maybe I could step it up a little better, a little more. So it's kind of a fun little program to kind of mess around with in C, because I'm trying to just do like little simple fun ideas to kind of help me, you know, learn the language and everything. Personally, I'm fine with that, but this command line thing could be better solution content. Agreed. Yeah, right. I thought it would be kind of a cool thing, and I already kind of started it, you know, offline, off stream. So obviously I've got some lines here, and I've got something, you know, very basic right now. And it doesn't even read this. This is my text file, right? That would be the input that it would read to print. So I just have a B, like an ASCII art B, like a very crude looking B. But yeah, I'll run this real quick here. So I just have it like printing some text and refreshing. And you can probably see that it flickers a little bit. But like I've kind of got it automated. Well, let's see. Okay, what are we gonna do? We're gonna clear sleep. All right, let's just try that. Okay, so then, yeah, so you can do, I got to get the little loop of the sleep and then the reprinting of the text. The thing that I don't like about it is there's like a little flicker. There's going to be a little flicker. And like there's a lot of flicker now because I'm clearing the screen and waiting 100 milliseconds, which wouldn't happen for the real thing. But there's like every time it updates, it's going to clear the screen and flicker for, you know, a few milliseconds, just based on the way the console works. Like I just really don't have control over that. So I might have to do a little more research on making that work. No, you know what? I am going to work on this. Darn it, I'm going to work on this. Because now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, this is cool. Maybe. Maybe I should update. Can I update my stream title in the middle of the stream? Does that work? Is that a thing? Edit stream info? Yeah. Let's just change that real quick. All right, I'm going to change it to C. C. C command line. Command line. Let's say animated command line ASCII art. Come on and hang out. Oh, what do I do? Hang out. All right, sorry. This is not supposed to be part of an entertaining stream, but let's see here. Come on, hang out. Hang out in the chat. That sounds good. All right. The problem is when you put like C and C++ in the title, since I'm learning, then I get people who say, "Whoa, you're doing that wrong. Whoa, that's terrible." And sometimes I'm like, well, I'm just doing a little program. Like I don't have to have this brilliant whatever. All right, I'm gonna keep this up here. Okay. Wise Dolphin, that could work as an animation. No. I think you said that message a little bit ago and I didn't, so I don't know if exactly what you were talking about specifically for that. How to build your own Twitch waiting lobby in C. That could be interesting. You're talking about the flickering. Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, well, okay, so the thing that's going to happen, so for my loop here, we are going to, okay, so let's go over to the 100 millisecond sleep here. Compile, run the thing, okay. So I'm doing, obviously this is, you know, 10 times a second updating, and it's flickering. And maybe that's not that big a deal. I don't know. To me, it just looks kind of bad, you know, but I don't really know if there's any way around that, unless there's some other better way to clear the screen. Because I'm actually like running the program. Like I'm not exactly I just kind of Googled, you know, clearing the screen, command line screen. But basically CLS, clear screen or whatever, is just the Windows like clear screen command, you know. Like if I type some stuff that was an error and then I do CLS, clears the screen. So it's just like doing a little, I guess this is just like firing off a separate little, I'm not exactly sure how this system function works. But I believe it is part of the C standard library, maybe. Sometimes I'm not exactly. Let's like comment out Windows here just to see. Okay. Yeah, so now sleep. Why doesn't Visual Studio tell me that sleep is not defined? Now that I've, maybe it, because then when I bring Windows.h back into it, sleep will show up as, yeah, void, standard call, sleep, dword, dw milliseconds. Okay. All right, well, let's just do a little overview of what's happening here with the program. So, well, what's supposed to be happening, so if right now I'm just printing a random, I just have this little high string, right? But if we actually try to print this text, it doesn't work right now. So we'll build this with GCC and we will run it. I really need to have some. Yeah, so right now it is just printing. It gets the top line. I don't know if you can tell, but it's got the top line of the file and that's it. And then it's done. So supposedly I am getting the right file size. We're going to need to do a couple of things here. All right. Actually, I'm going to hit the bathroom real quick. I know I just started. Go easy on me, guys. Hang on a second here. Now, I could really use my new brb.exe program, but we're going to have to go to the old school notepad. The classic way. Be right back and zoom. Notepad does have zoom. I'll give it that. That's nice, right? Bring back the notepad then. Yep. I don't even have this saved. I don't even have like a notepad file of this saved. I just type it from scratch every time. That's what we do on this stream on my channel, right? Is that what it's called? Twitch channel? That's what we do on my channel. Stuff from scratch. So I'm telling you, I'm dedicated. I type this out each and every stream. Haven't saved it to desktop once. Saved to disk once, I should have said. All right. But seriously, I'll be right back because I got to tinkle. All right, I'm back. Yes, I washed my hands, except I will admit we have a kitten, a 4.5-month-old kitten, and he scratched me, so I have a Band-Aid on this hand. So I didn't wash this hand, but I didn't touch anything with this hand. Just clearing that up. You know, any sticklers out there might say, well, you got the Band-Aid. Washing your hand with a Band-Aid is a pain because then you got to like change it or something once it gets all wet and soggy. And it's actually a pain typing with this, I will say. Because all we have are the big Band-Aids. All right. So we got this running right now. Now, I've got a couple of things that, since I just decided to stream this right now, there are a couple of things I would have liked to have set up beforehand doing this. Wise Dolphin, well, we're good keepers, Band-Aid safe. Thanks. Yeah, he scratched me. This was the worst scratch I've got from the kitten so far. I mean, I've gotten a lot of scratches, and it was right on the pad of this middle finger. Oof, that's like a terrible place to get a cut. And he really like dug in. All right. So let's step through the program here. I don't literally mean step through in a debugger, but we're gonna need to get this open in a debugger at some point. So my goal with the program, right? This is just gonna be a simple little executable file, and I'm probably just gonna have the text. Well, okay, so let's even take another step back. What is this program, right? Like, as I kind of said, I want to print some ASCII art to the command line and do something. So just my initial idea right off the top of my head. I mean, we could go super simple and just print some nice ASCII art to the to the console, and that'd be pretty simple. We're not quite to that point yet because I'm having some sort of issue when I'm reading bytes out of the file. But, oh, let me zoom in here a bit. How about that, huh? Okay. Oop, and we will shrink that console a bit. All right, so basically what I want to do with this program is I want to just read some text out of a text file and print it to the console, to a command line console, right? So it's a command line program. You run it, you print some, you read some bytes out of a file and print them to the console. So the C standard library just gives us some pretty nice stuff, just to do that, just to at least get it working. There's also, so I've got my stdlib.h header file included here, and standard IO, which is what allows us to open files and stuff like that. And is standard IO what printf comes in, or is that part of the standard lib? That's got to be part of the standard IO. Maybe malloc from standard lib. I don't know. See, I don't know what I'm doing with C quite yet. I kind of do, but I'm getting there. But that's why we're doing this. We're learning. Sorry, text message. Friend of mine just told me he nailed a kickflip down. Actually, I think he said old school kickflip, so he's the hand flip kind of stuff. Anyway, so basically, I'll just step through what I've got in the program so far. We do the file open. So right now I've just got my string to my text file right here. So I've got the text file open here. Text.txt. Came up with that name myself, believe it or not. So I'm doing the fopen command here, and we get our file pointer. And I'm opening it in, I'm opening it to read, first of all. That's the R there. And then the B is binary. And the reason why I opened it in binary format was because, and this is the part that I'm confused as to why this isn't working. So like if I run brb.exe right now, which I have to do this with PowerShell, brb.exe, you can see we're printing some stuff here. I know it's kind of small, but we're basically printing the top line of our text file only, right? So that. So now I realized that why that was happening originally, because I was originally just opening this without the binary mode. So I was just doing read-only mode, or just read mode as it read text mode, right? And what I realized happens when you do that is basically if you try to read a line or read some data out of the file, so that's what I'm doing with this fgets function here. So fgets, I pass in the memory to which I am reading my bytes to. The size of the file, meaning, I guess that's the length, right? Max count, so that's the number of bytes we want to read from the file, and then our file pointer itself, right? The pointer to our file. So the thing that got me at first was that I didn't really read specifically with fgets. Fgets stops whenever it encounters a new line character, right? So obviously we've got a new line character right after the end here, because now we go to a new line, right? I hit an enter. So if we fire up our little hex editor here and open our text file, can I zoom in on this? Sweet. We'll see we've got some spaces here, right? That's the first few spaces, and then we've got 5 Fs, which are underscores. Apparently, I don't know that off the top of my head. I know it because I'm seeing it right here, right? And we got a 0A, right? So the 0A is our little text view here. Just puts a little square character there to resemble that it's not an actual printable character, right? So we got a 0A, or it's not an ASCII character, right? So 0A is our new line byte, right? Now I'm on Windows, and Windows does, when you do an enter, when you hit enter in like a text file, it normally does 2 bytes, a CR and an LF, right? So the CR is carriage return, and that is 0D, maybe. I'd have to pull up my little ASCII table, ASCII chart, but normally it would print a 0D, and I thought just for simplicity's sake, I might share this code, might make this code public. I probably will, I don't have any reason not to. This is just a stupid, simple little program here. So normally Windows will insert a, so if you open Notepad and you type some text files and you hit enter a few times to go to a new line, it will put in 2 bytes to represent that new line. Carriage return, line feed. I'm not sure what the history is on that. Somebody to, I'm sure there's some long history. And I get, from my understanding on like Unix systems and probably everything else, a new line is just a single 0A that we plop in here. So what I did was actually with Visual Studio Code, you can actually, and when you're in your text file, you can just go right down here where it says LF, and I can change it to CRLF if I want. So right now we're just on the new line feed, and we can change it to CRLF. And if I do that, my file's been modified. We can see, so if I save, there we go. And if we go back to fread here, I think we have to reopen the fread. There we go. And now, if you notice, we've got spaces, spaces, underscores, underscores, underscores. Oh, there we go. 0D, 0A. So we got the carriage return and then the line feed. So I thought, oh, I'll make it easier on myself because when I'm doing this like animating thing, it'll probably be better to just like deal with 1 byte, but at the end of the day, I'm probably going to make it so, because if this, just to make it easier for myself doing stuff on Windows, I'll need to be paying attention to 0D, 0A instead. CRLF, right? So let's just change this back to LF for the time being. And let's reopen fread. Or reopen the file in fread. So oh, I didn't say yet exactly what I'm thinking of animating. So, or what I want. I keep saying the term animating, but I haven't explained quite what I meant by that. So my initial thought was like, it'd be cool if, so it prints the text to the screen, and then maybe it could look like there's like some sort of thing going like line by line, like as if it's kind of like printing the characters to the screen, or something like that. I'm thinking of having like a line by line animation, because I figured that would be just kind of simple to do, and it would be cool to kind of play around with speeds and whatever. And I wouldn't have to do anything super wacky, I guess. I mean, I could do something like changing the drop shadow or something dumb like that, you know, just like alternating between different characters or something. But we could do that. But I was thinking of like this little line by line thing. So I'm going to do that for now. And we're going to... Wise Dolphin. So it gradually shows the whole text from top to bottom. Yeah, maybe. The other thing I was thinking was like... actually, like I'm visualizing this in my head. Obviously, it might look terrible, but I was kind of thinking of like it would go line by line, and like whatever characters are on, whatever like non-space characters, printable characters are on that line, it'll like change them to something else, like a different, you know, a different symbol, whatever, right? A different character. And then it would kind of just look like it's processing, you know, I don't know. That might look terrible. Or I might do it kind of maybe like you're saying a little, or what like you were thinking, where it's like, yeah, it's kind of like it looks like it's like drawing line by line the text or something. That would be cool too. So like the ones before it, you know, whatever line we're currently on, there's characters there and there's no characters below that line, right? So that it could be kind of going fast or whatever and look kind of cool. Either way, in either of those cases, I think you should have something like the matrix screen symbol transformations. That would be cool. Yes, I actually did think kind of about that a little bit too, but yeah, I mean, that actually maybe wouldn't be too hard. But it'd be a little, it wouldn't be straightforward to figure out exactly what I want kind of thing. Like I'm thinking my goal right now, let's just first actually print this whole art, this whole ASCII art thing to the console successfully, because right now we're just printing the first line, and then maybe do something like line by line, figure that out. Now, so what I was explaining before is obviously if I run brb.exe, right? So this is going to be just my be right back message, and all I've written is just a B, and I made the little like drop shadow like ampersand or at signs, and I don't know if I like that, but we'll roll with it for right now. The idea is, you know, I can go back and change all this later, right? It's a little text file. I can just change everything and then we're good, right? So down here, the program's running right now. We're only printing the first line. So the thing that I understood is that this the fgets function. Sorry, unmuting my speakers there. The fgets function basically reads bytes out of the file for the amount of size, the amount of bytes you want, and reads it to your buffer, right? So I have an ASCII art file buffer here. But what was happening? So originally I didn't have the B here, so the binary thing. So what I thought is that fgets, if you're just reading a text file, no matter what you read, no matter how many bytes you specify to read or how many characters you specify to read, it'll stop once it hits a new line, and then it will dump. I guess it will dump that string that it read into your buffer and put a 0 on the and put a null terminate it for you, because obviously printf is printing to the end of that file and that's it. So it's null terminating, I guess, or there's zeros somewhere in that file. So the weird, let's see here. The thing that I would have assumed that when I did RB as the mode that I'm reading my reading my file in binary mode, I would have thought that fgets would ignore the newline characters. So it would just, you know, because when you're, you know, a newline character will pop up in a binary file, and you don't want to, you know, if you're reading a image data or something out of a file or reading whatever, you don't want this to stop whenever you hit a 0A or 0D or whatever. So the thing is, I've actually gotten around this because I've written a program to read, well, I have, let me look, let's look at my BMP file here, BMP project here. So I have a program here that I've written before to read a BMP file and then reads the color data, and you get pixel data out of that. And then also writes the BMP data. So I want to see exactly what I do for that, because that doesn't have a problem doing, so I'm doing a very similar thing with that. So here I've got my read BMP file function, right? And I do like the same exact kind of line, except our file path comes in through this function. We read, and then so I'm doing, let's see. Yeah, I'm reading to a specific spot in the file, so we do fgets here. Okay, so that's not where I'm actually getting the pixels. Okay, here we actually allocate our pixel buffer, our car pointer. And then we are doing, I'm doing get C. Maybe that's that exact problem. I'm doing get C. I'm just looping and doing get C, because fgets, yeah, that's got to be it. Rolf WR, couldn't you use fread for reading while ignoring the new lines? Does fread do that? I'll open this up so people can see it. Do C fread. I believe so, yes. All right, Rolf. All right, so size, okay, so parameters pointer, the block of memory, blah, blah, blah. The size of bytes. This is the size in bytes of each element to be read. This is the number of elements, each one with a size of bytes, and this is the pointer to the file. Okay. So the size in bytes of each element to be read, and nice. Rolf WR, I think you saved me here. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And thanks for hanging out, Rolf. Welcome to the chat. I'm kind of learning C++ right now. So I'm doing this little program here in C. I'm trying to do strict C here. So that's the guy we want for sure. So thank you for bringing fread to my attention, and pox on me for not kind of going through all the file IO functions here, but yes. So let's try read. That'll do it. And then I can fix my BMP file here and actually do the right thing. See, when I wrote this, here I'm literally just looping for every byte, for every pixel in this program, and doing a get C, getting the 1 byte. All right. I mean, not that there's maybe necessarily anything wrong with that, but if there's already a function here to do that, then I'd like to, or to do that more properly. And obviously that function's doing the loop and whatever to read each byte. But anyway, all right, so back to this. We want to try doing, oh, yeah, we're still running here. That's fine. I'm going to keep this running the whole time. Now I'm doing the rewind. Yeah, what am I doing here? So to get the length of the file, yeah, let's see what we're doing here. So I'm getting the file size. Doing ftel plus 1, so that is the number of, or that's the index of the last byte, not including the null terminator. Oh wait, there wouldn't be. Oh, there would. Yeah. Oh, sorry. This is from the file. There's no null terminator. So this is getting the position of the last byte of the file and adding plus 1 to it to get us our file size, right? So we get our file size. And that should be good. And let me, just because I did this a couple days ago, so let me actually make sure that I have the right file size. File size %I file size. Sorry, I'm slow typing today with this Band-Aid. Right on the pad of the finger, my kitten got me. That's rough. That hurts. The pad of the finger, it's very sensitive. You've got so many nerves in the tips of your fingers, don't you? I mean, like that's the, like if I got scratched that hard on the arm, wouldn't have hurt, you know, up on my forearm, that wouldn't have hurt, but right on the pad of my finger, man. That smarts. All right. All right, so we're going to print our file size. I'm going to do that. Oh, actually, and we're going to have to kill our little loop here. Kill this whole shebang. All right, so we're compiling, and we are file size 165. I just want to make sure that I'm actually calculating this correctly here. File size 164. Oh. Okay, so the file size, okay, so I'm adding, so ftel is getting us the actual, ftel f after going to seek end, is getting us the actual file size. Wise Dolphin, that finger is practically your working tool. Yes, it is. And I play guitar, too. So that's, it's not fun having finger injuries with guitar, either. Wow. Okay, so ftel. Okay, so ftel is getting us the right file size. So that is the number of bytes in the file. Yes, 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 yes. Okay. So okay, so I've got some like little stupid +1 kind of +1 -1 math going on here. So we got the actual file size now, but we want to malloc. So when we're allocating, we're going to load that all the bytes from the file into memory, right? So what I want is, so I'm allocating file size +1. And I still want to do that because I want to put a null terminator at the end, right? Because our character, our file goes all the way to the end there, right? So we go to We're at offset 163 here, but our length, our file size length is 164. Right. Okay. Yeah, so we want to malloc file size +1 because we are going to put our null terminator at the end. So we get that. We do a car, pointer, ASCII art, right? So that's our ASCII art all loaded up nicely. New lines, everything included. So now, well, sorry. I just said loaded up. We got the memory. That's all we have at this point. We don't actually have the data yet. So then I just simply put a null terminator at the end there. I put a 0 at the end, and I just did it this way to kind of just signal to myself that I am putting the null terminator here rather than just putting null or 0 or something. So I believe that is exactly what we want. And I don't know why I did it that way. I had it this way because I thought maybe something was weird. Once again, I'm learning C. I'm learning C, C++. So originally I was doing the pointer math, then dereferencing, and then setting 0. But here I can just do the array kind of syntax. And since we're doing cars and everything, you know, can deal with the single one integers here. Okay. So we put our 0 at the end. Then I do the rewind F. And I don't actually know if I really need... Wise Dolphin, no pressure whatsoever. Talking for myself here. I'm learning alongside you. Awesome. Awesome. Rolf WR, I think you mean ASCII art file size equals 0 without the +1 since C arrays are 0 indexed. Well, so the thing is, I want to do +1 because I'm turning it into a string. Because I want to load the whole thing up, but then I'm going to be treating it as a well, yeah, because I'm loading the file up in binary mode. So our last byte, if I did what you're suggesting, Rolf, if I didn't, what exactly were you saying? ASCII art file size equals null term. If I did it that way, I'd be putting a 0. So I'm loading all of these bytes, all 164 bytes, into memory. So I'm allocating this size +1 to fit squeeze my null terminator in the end because I'm treating this as a string. Because I'm going to, well, I might actually end up changing it. So I might end up doing what you're suggesting, Rolf. But, because maybe I will not treat it as strings. Yes, ASCII art file size -1 access is the last byte you would read from the file. File size would access the byte after. Oh. Oh, you're right. You're right. Yes. Because file size is 164. So file size, that's exactly what I want. Oh, yes. Sorry. That's me being an idiot. And I also want to only malloc file size. That I want to... Oh, no. We need to malloc file size +1. Yes. We want to load the whole file plus a little extra space for our null terminator. But our index of file size, yes, because our last byte is going to be 163. So our last byte is going to be -1. Brilliant. Thank you, Rolf. Rolf coming in clutch once again. All right. So, yes. So, okay. So the rewind is what takes our little streaming API here back to the beginning. Because if I do, yes, because our pointer here, our file pointer is kind of a cursor-based thing, if I'm correct. So when we do fseek, we seek to the end. So we just get the position of our last, or actually no, this ftell f is returning the full size of the file. So then, yeah, okay. So then I need to rewind to get this thing to start over from the beginning of the file. So then we're doing, so now instead of fgets, we are going to do fread. So fread, so graciously provided by Rolf. So fread, it took our buffer, it took the size of each element first. Yes, and then n members, number of members. So the size of each element and the number of members. So that's pretty easy since we're just dealing with our single bytes. So we just have a 1. And then we have our file size. Yes, because we're going to read all 164 bytes out of the file. So that should be good. So let's see if that works in the first place. And we'll print ASCII art there. Let's build this. Nice. There we go. And we're terminating right at the end there. Beautiful. Rolf, thanks for the help. I appreciate that. All right, and we got the little flicker right now because yes, we're clearing the screen and looping, right? So our goal with this is to kind of animate, have some animations, some stuff working, but we are successfully now printing our, I won't say lovely, but our funky looking ASCII art B, and we're printing it to the console over and over again. Cool. So now the next thing will be, we want to do some sort of animation stuff here. So let me clear out this commented junk. And yeah, I'm going to get rid of this. Now this will be the slightly more interesting part. Just thinking about how I exactly want to achieve this. Because now we've got our file loaded up into memory. But we're going to need to I want to basically modify each okay, let's see here. So I want to do something where we kind of have it animate like line by line kind of thing, like print each line individually. Because that's making me think now, maybe instead of just the whole thing in memory, I'd want to do like arrays of arrays, basically arrays of strings. Like each line. So I'd want to have each line saved as a string. Because what we're going to end up doing is like printing. Yeah, we're going to need, because right now I'm just printfing the whole string. Which I don't know if that's really a good idea or not. Wise Dolphin, are you, I know you, I think you followed me when I was working on my JavaScript game, right? My browser game. So I assume maybe that's more of what you're you were originally interested in, or your background was in. So you say you're learning alongside of me. So I guess, have you done any C++ programming at all before? I'm like going off the assumption that you've done some JavaScript or whatever, based upon you finding me doing JavaScript stream the other day. Honestly, no. I mainly focus on JS front end, but I'm open to learning all types as of right now. Gotcha. Yeah. So if you've got any questions about what I'm doing, let me know. Or about specifically what's going on here. Pointers and stuff like that. Because JavaScript and pointers is like, what? And C or C++ has been a subject I've been interested in but never got into it, put the time into, so this is another opportunity. Oh, nice. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, sure. Thanks again. Yeah, no problem. And when I say, disclaimer, when I say I'm going to explain something, that's under the assumption that I know what I'd even understand what I'm talking about in the first place. Yeah, so I'm trying to think of how we want to tackle this problem now, because we need, basically, and this might not be possible. I was thinking of maybe doing, I'd like to just have one printf in our loop, if possible, right? Like there's just going to be the string in memory, printf, the string, right? So that would imply that we need to modify something beforehand, right? I think what I want to do then is, obviously every loop we're going to need to do something different, right? Because this is the thing that's, once we're in this loop, we're going forever, right? So let's do, I think what I'm going to do, we're going to have like a duplicate buffer, right? And that's going to be kind of like our screen, right? Kind of like we're drawing a frame of a game or whatever, right? We're rendering a frame. And I'm going to keep my ASCII art memory, right? That's going to be like our source. And we'll kind of refresh the screen with that source. So, okay, so we're going to need to split this into a function for sure, but and I might split this. I was going to just keep everything in this one main.c file, but I might just do like a little header. Just literally for the reason of I'm zoomed in super far and I want to be able to see this. And so let's do that. Let's do a new little header. Func.h. Okay. We'll split that little fella right there. And I know I'm supposed to do the if-def stuff for C, but since this is literally all this is definitely the only header file I'm going to have right now. Oops. Func.h. Okay. Oops. So now I need to figure out what I want this function to do. Right, so this is going to run every time. This needs to run every frame. This is like our update function, right? So it's going to have to take like a line number. Like there'll have to be some iterator counting up, or like, yeah, I need to think about this, but I also need to use the bathroom again. I know, I just went. Go easy on me. I stay hydrated. I like to stay hydrated. I just double fist coffee and water usually too in the morning, so it's like double duty. And I think I'm gonna, the dryer just finished the laundry, so I'm gonna grab that. But don't go anywhere. We'll be done real quick here. I mean, we'll be right back real quick. That's what I meant to say. All right, we're back. I'll just give a little shout out to the community, to you guys. Thank you. Just reached affiliate status on the last on the last stream, so that's because of you guys. Yes, thanks for following, watching, hanging out, whatever. Appreciate it. Appreciate it a lot. And I updated my links and stuff for if you're first time watching me ever. I'm doing C and C++, but I'm working on a JavaScript game. So I should have like the links for my Discord and everything. I kind of started that up. Actually, that's not just for the game. That's kind of just for, somebody said, hey, have a Discord. Actually, maybe that was Wise Dolphin, once again, in the chat there, who said that. So I set up a Discord, so there's not really anything there right now. I'm going to be setting that up, so I'd like to, questions about stuff I'm working on, whether it's my game or hair in my mouth, whether it's my game or this or C, C++, whatever, guitars. Wise Dolphin, this one wasn't me. I think Retro MMR was the guy. Yeah, Retro MMO. He said it too. He suggested it too. Or he helped reinforce that. So yeah. Yes. All right. I'm getting a little, I think I've had too much coffee this morning. Not enough to eat. but I don't want to eat. I don't want to eat pretzels again on stream because it was like so loud. When I went back and listened to the VOD, and it was like, because I got a compressor on. I got a compressor on my mic, so you know, I was trying to like crunch really quietly and like back here away from the mic, you know, like, but the compressor is just squashing that audio signal, and yeah, every little crunch of those pretzel nuggets you could hear. Maybe I'll get like maybe I'll put like a noise gate or something on. I don't know. The noise gate, those I don't know. I have to tweak some settings, I guess. We'll see. We'll see about that. Or like a pretzel. Maybe I need like a pretzel mute button or something. Crunching on pretzels, push to mute. Anyway, so we've successfully got our character drawing on screen, and big thanks to Rolf for helping me with that. Yes. So the thing we need to do now is we need to update something every. We need to update the screen somehow every frame, right? Whatever our frame is. Currently, we're doing 1 frame a second. Look at that. It's the kind of performance you want in your games, right? 1 frame a second. So we need to have a function, some sort of little update function. In fact, we're going to even call it update. How about that? So we're going to have function. Whoa. Anybody who was here for watching the C stuff just left because I started to type the word function. Actually, I don't know. We're going to call this update, right? So this is going to be, I don't know what this is going to return. This is going to return a car pointer. Yeah, because it's, is this how I should do it? Update. Yeah, that's the syntax, huh? Wise Dolphin. JS is bleeding into this project, I think. Yeah, you're right. Oh, and we're doing, this is a void guy here too. Once again, more JS. We're going to be passing in the frame, right? So I'm just going to call this buff, car pointer buff. Actually, car pointer source, car pointer dest, DST there. Because we're going to need, and we need a line. We're going to need a line. You know what? I could probably have this. This might not even end up being that complicated. I might end up just getting rid of this extra function for that. We're going to need like a line number. Line num. Int line num. Yes. Okay. So this update function is going to take the source, you know, that's going to take ASCII art buffer, right? So that's going to take what we're printing to the screen currently right now. And then we are going to have, in fact, maybe we are going to just do, let's do ASCII art source, and yeah, we'll go with that for right now. ASCII art dest, and then we are also going to do that same spiel here, file size +1. All right, so basically our source is going to be like our read-only kind of thing. It's not actually read-only, but that's going to be like our raw data from the file untouched, right? And it's always going to keep that. And then the dest is going to be actually what we draw to the screen, right? So initially, we are going to copy. Ooh. Okay. Yeah, so this, actually we're going to do two things. We're going to, let's change this ASCII art source, okay. Get rid of that. All right, so we read our file, we close our file. Now, that's all we need to do. Oh, ASCII art dest. Maybe I should do the same thing with ASCII art dest, although dst. File size is going to equal also, we'll do null terminator. All right. So basically just mirroring everything up here. We've got our source ASCII art, which will be the entire file with the null terminator on the end, so it's a string, right? Null terminated. And then our destination, which we're just matching up right now 1-to-1. We're just going to leave the 0. I'm doing this just for consistency's sake, although I'm going to kind of be nullifying this anyway, I think. Yeah. Okay, the other thing we are also going to need is car count. We're going to need an int car count. And that's going to be the size. That's going to be our file size, right? Or maybe I should call it buffer size. I don't know. Buffer size. Okay. Let's make it source dest size. Okay. There we go. Okay. So this first thing we want to do when we run update is we are going to actually, let's step back before we even get to this. We need to count how many lines we have, because that's something we need to pass into our update function. That's going to tell us how many lines, like what line we're going to need to change. At least that's how I'm going to have things work right now. Because like I've been saying, I want to have this, like, maybe the first thing I'm going to do is just have this like animate, like just change the characters, all the characters of like a given line to like another character or something right now. We're just going to see how that looks. So our update function is going to need to know which line number is the current number we need to have those weird characters be, right? So the first thing is we want to count how many line numbers we have, right? So I'm gonna do kind of a zero-based line number thing. So we're gonna assume the first line is line 0, then line 1, line 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? And then that way we're only going to be counting. That way we just count the new line characters. So we are just going to count. So we're going to start with one line. So I guess we'll have int line numbers or line count equals 1. We're just going to assume we've got one line. And then if we have a new line, then we have 2. The first new line we hit, then we have 2, right? So we need to loop over our entire let me create a new, okay, we don't need that anymore. I'm going to create a new little int buffer size. Buff size is going to equal file size plus 1. I just want to throw this into a variable because I'm going to be throwing it around instead of doing file size plus 1 every time. Okay, so the buff size now is our actual size of our memory now. Oh. Well, anyway, I just thought of something else, but not. Int I equals 0. I is less than, whoa. Okay, so we want to loop over our source buffer. I is less than buff size. You know what? I actually don't even need to do that because I don't even need buff size because we're not touching that last character. That last character always needs to be the 0. So we're not actually going to touch that. All right, anyway. So let's do all right. We're just trying to get our line count, right? So we need to count how many new line characters we have. We're going to assume we at least have one line in the file. So even if it was an empty text file, I mean, I don't care about this too much. I don't care about making this some sort of robust thing, right? This is just supposed to be a stupid little be right back message. All I want is to just print a little message on my screen, right? So that way, when I go to the bathroom, which is pretty frequently, I can just type brb.exe, and there you go, right? No more notepad. No more notepad zooming in, typing it every time from scratch. It's going to be a little application, right? I'll put it in some tool directory that's in my file path, so all I have to do, anywhere on my system, just type brb.exe and it'll work, right? Is that too much to ask? Okay. So we're just trying to get our line count, right? We're going to assume we've got one line initially, right off the bat. And for every new line character we hit, we're going to increment. And I'm going to just go off of new lines. So let's do sorry, I was just thinking about something else there. Getting distracted. We need to check. Okay, so we're looping over our ASCII art source. Source. And so, okay, so we're doing an if. We need an if ASCII art source equals new line. Which is 10. Should I just do, actually, we'll do it maybe better there to just insinuate what we're doing there. So if we hit a new line, we line count plus plus. And at the end of the whole shaboom, we should have a line count. So let's just printf that line count. See and make sure we do indeed what we have what we have. And I'm going to kill our loop because otherwise it's going to clear the screen. And I don't want that. All right, so let's compile. We've got some errors. Oh. Oof. JavaScript, more JavaScript. Ugh. I was console logging that. All right. We got to actually put in a const char pointer. If I was from Canada, I would say char. So we got that, we got that, we got this, we got that, and done, and compile, and ready, compile. There we go. It takes so long to compile because of Windows.h. This is a stupid little program, but Windows.h is causing those problems. If I take Windows.h out, watch this compile time. Blink of an eye. Why does it have to be that big and take up that much? Yeah, that's crazy. It's like an eternity I was waiting for that to compile. And I'm on a beefy system. Ryzen 9 3900X. It's a pretty fast CPU. .19 gigahertz right now. Do I have it overclocked? Yeah, I got a little overclocking on. It's like 3.8 or something. Actually, I don't know. Base speed is 3.79. Okay. I think I've got like a hair of overclocking, like the power or something bumped up. Anyway. Anyway. We compiled. Windows.h is back in there. We need Windows.h for sleep, the sleep function. It doesn't seem like there's a nice... Is there a C sleep? Part of the C standard library? We'll see. All right. brb.exe, we got 9. So that sounds about right there. New lines, 9. We got 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we got 9 lines, right? Rolf, since you're sleeping a whole second, you could use sleep 1. Ah, yes. Yes, from Unis standard. Is that like, what does that UNI stand for? I was reading about that. The thing is, I think I might make it faster than a second. We'll see. So I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave Windows.h in there for now. But thanks again. Thanks again for the tip, Rolf. I appreciate it. All right. So okay. So our line count 1 is correct, is good here, right? So we've got 9 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then we're going to go, yeah. I think that's what we want. I don't think we want a 0. Do we want a 0 index this? No, actually, this is good. Rolf, for sleeping less than 1 second, there's unfortunately no pure C way. Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, and I was using GCC for this just because I was like, oh, this is going to be a nice little simple program. It's not, I can put this up on GitHub, you know, something, I can share it with the world. And anybody will be able to use it. Unix, whatever. But no, because when it looks cool, it's going to be sleeping for whatever. For 500 milliseconds, just because I want it to sleep for half a second. It's got to be Windows. Unfortunately, no pure C way, you say, though. So that's kind of implying we could do something else, I guess. And I assume, obviously, there's something to do. I mean, obviously, this, you know, it works here, and this, whatever this sleep thing is doing. I don't know what I'm trying to say anymore. But anyway, we've got our line count now, and it's good. I'm trying to think if I want it to be 0 indexed or not. If I want my line count thing to be, because I'm treating it, you know, exactly like this. We got 9 lines. We printed 9. Sorry, that console is really small. We got 9 lines, and obviously, yes, first line is line 1. I'm assuming I'm gonna want to keep it that way. Anyway, I'm not gonna think about it too hard right now. We'll get there when we get there. I'll need to keep it in the back of my mind, though. All right, so now that we've got our line count, we are good. Whoops. Let's just uncomment this shebang here. All right. Rolf, I'm assuming you do like C++ programming for a living. What do you do if that's the case? I'm just interested, you know. All right, so Rolf, usually you can improve the speed of Windows.h by adding a line define Win32 lean and mean before the include of Windows.h. Defining Win32 lean and mean, nice. These days I'm doing mostly TypeScript. Okay, interesting. Oh, so when I talk about JavaScript stuff, then you're not going to leave the stream. If I mention the word JS, the letters JS together. Let's try defining Win32 lean and mean. I do want to try that. Oh, yeah, not include, define. Sorry. Define Win32 lean and mean. And I just do that, right? That's all I need to do. It's just defining this as a word. Oh, I need to do it before the include, I guess, huh? That would probably help. Okay, what? Let's just comment this out again. See what we got here. Did I get that right? Needs to be above the include. Yeah, you caught me. You caught me there. Win32 lean and mean. Did I get that right? Oh, I did an underscore. Okay. That's faster. That is faster. Yeah, that is faster there. I like it. We're going to keep it in there. Thanks again, Rolf. Wise Dolphin, are the C++ community somehow repellent towards JS? Actually not. I'm maybe a little repellent towards JS, so maybe it's just me. I don't know. I guess maybe the C, maybe the purest C. Well, I'm thinking of, okay, so I really like, if you guys are familiar with, seriously, you do a great deal of it. Well, okay, so, yes, I do a great deal of it. But I'm trying, like, so I like watching, like, Jonathan Blow, if you're familiar, the creator of Braid, the game Braid and Witness and whatever. I like watching his streams. I like watching, and he's creating his own whole programming language, whatever. And yes, he does rag on JavaScript a lot. And I'm following Casey Muratori who does Handmade Hero, if you're familiar with it. And that's where that's like a project now that's been going on for like 5 or 6 years, where he's been building a game completely from scratch in C, well, some C++, whatever. But, and they rag on JavaScript all the time, so I'm kind of like, I'm just copying them. No, but, well, they rag on like interpreted languages, you know, and like just kind of having like trying to do native things as much as possible and just doing things fast and clean and simple, right? So I'm just trying to focus more on that, and like, you know, and they really rag on like object-oriented kind of stuff and whatever. And I myself am trying to think more like data-oriented, and basically I'm just a wannabe. So I'm just repeating what I hear. But no, I am very interested in like kind of the low-level kind of stuff, low-level programming, or, you know, obviously a lot lower level than JavaScript, and doing a little bit of doing assembly kind of stuff and everything too, kind of in tandem. So Wise Dolphin, I would say, if you're interested in, you know, kind of C game development, Handmade Hero, it's awesome. Because I feel like when you learn, if you just look up like a C tutorial, a C++ tutorial, like it's like if you know any other programming, like if you know JavaScript, you know, you'll pick it up pretty quick, you know, even if you haven't done data types or whatever, or let's just say, you know, TypeScript, right, or whatever. You know, you'll just be like, oh, it's kind of like there's just data types and whatever. But then, you know, there's data types and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, if you just do like the first, like the tutorial of C, and you just go like variables, what are variables? Functions, what are functions? Pointers, okay, that's a little different. And oh yeah, if I print a pointer to the console, it's the location of memory, but I don't really care about that yet. If you just like go through the like first 20 pages of like every programming language, you know, for C, you don't really get into like actually like looking at memory or stuff like that. And that's a little more advanced. And Handmade Hero, Casey Muratori, he gets into that pretty quick. So he explains, I mean, he does kind of explain it very basically, like even if you don't program, you know, you kind of learn it. But then he also like shows you right away, pulls up the Windows debugger, and you start looking at the memory, like I think pretty quick in his just initial videos of that. And that, when I watched that, I was like, that's cool, because now I'm looking at memory. I can see why this thing is here and there. And when I do this, like this is actually the computer memory. That's pretty cool, you know? So like that part of it, I feel like when you just start doing a C or C++ tutorial, you maybe don't, it takes a little while before you start to see that kind of stuff. And that just makes it way more cool, because it's like, oh, I'm really working. And he explains like seeing the disassembly and everything of your program and everything too, and just kind of shows you that, just like kind of basics of that. And then you're like, wow, this is literally what my CPU is going to do to move my data around. That's cool, you know? So, so I went on some long trail of nonsense about that, but I was just, because I was talking about ragging on JavaScript or whatever, but yeah. Anyway. All right. So sorry, I just got a little tickle in my throat. Wise Dolphin, I think I get your point. I personally prefer knowing the in-depth concepts and workings of anything I'm trying to work with. Yeah, definitely. And like trying to understand JavaScript is like, whew, that's annoying. Because to really understand, like, so if you want to say, okay, I'm going to be like the best JavaScript programmer ever, and JS, I've heard, does the programming a bit messy. Right. That for sure. Does weird things, not to mention different, you know, I mean, JavaScript is typically used in the web browser, right? So if you're trying to build some sort of application using mostly JavaScript, and Wise Dolphin, you're doing the front end, and you know, you got like a bajillion browsers or whatever you're trying to support. and like they do something weird, or they support this aspect of ES6, or they don't, or they whatever. And so you use Babel, or you use whatever. But then, okay, so two things then. And I don't use Babel for my game because I'm gonna support like 80% of the world's on Chrome right now or whatever. I've just made that number up, but I know it's like some obscenely big number is using Google Chrome right now. So I'm developing the game in Chrome. B, supports ES6 and blah, blah, blah. B, Microsoft just launched the new Chromium Chromium-based Edge. And my game actually didn't work in the old Edge, but now it works in the new Chromium Edge. So I'm like, yeah, nice. C, I don't know what C was going to be, but A and B, I don't know. The way I figure, like, if somebody's going to play my game and they're like, I want to play your game, your browser game on Internet Explorer 6, IE 6, it's got to be supported. You know, I mean, no, I'm not going to do that. And then, so that being said, I don't want to do Babel. That would maybe make it work on ES6 or IE6, sorry. I don't want to do Babel to make it work on IE6 because Babel is going to like undo a bunch of like my nice optimizations that I did like in the JavaScript I know to say like, okay, I'm going to do this because this is faster. And then, you know, Babel is going to compile it, transpile it down to something else that's really slow. And yeah, I could like customize Babel and everything, but I don't really care about doing that. And I'm ragging on Babel, you know, probably more than I should be because I don't even know that much about it. But, you know, I just want the code that's running on those, whoever's playing my game, I want it to be as close to the code that I wrote, you know. And the other thing, okay, so the other thing I was going to say, Wise Dolphin, because you were saying, I think I get your point. I personally prefer knowing the in-depth concepts and workings of anything I'm trying to work with. And to really understand how to optimize JavaScript, like really tightly, I mean, you basically need to learn how V8 works, you know, for Chrome or whatever. And if Node.js uses V8, like you got to like understand that kind of stuff. You got to understand like, you know, using integer things versus floating points, and you know, like there is a difference that, you know, if you type 1 versus and you do math on the number 1, the integer 1, rather than doing math on the 1.0, you know, there's just like there's little optimizations and stuff, but it's like, how am I supposed to know really what the difference is, you know, without like testing a bunch of stuff myself? So like when you go from that and then, you know, like I'm learning C and like actually just looking at the memory and looking at the whatever, the instructions that are running on the CPU, like that's just way cooler. And yes, you know, there's a bajillion CPUs and different ways they're going to perform and whatever, but you know, that's how things are, I guess, you know. Anyway, I was just saying a bunch of spiel about nothing, but and also just don't listen to me because it's a lot of times I just don't know what I'm talking about either. So I want to always throw that disclaimer out there. Like I might rant about something, but I also might misunderstand something. Wise Dolphin, doesn't it all come down to the project then? A game will definitely run better if it's not in a browser, and I would certainly not go after game programming with my front-end experience. Yes. Thanks for the whole pointers. Yeah, no problem. I mean, I don't like to feign a position of authority on something either, so I'm just kind of talking from my experience, so like I said with that disclaimer there. Yeah, well, right. You're right. But at a fundamental level, I was just watching actually. This is a really interesting talk here. I'll paste the link in the chat. Or an interview, interesting interview, I should say. So that is that's Casey Muratori, the guy who does Handmade Hero, and he and it's Casey and Jeff show. So it's him and Jeff, who is a guy, I think he's the guy behind Rad Game Tools. And that talk is the evils of non-native programming. So in other words, JavaScript, right? The evil of that. But and you don't have to watch the whole thing, or Oh, and I copied that exact link to 844 seconds, but that was just from whatever was in my browser. So I'm referring to the whole entire talk. But that video, they talk about things that are just like fundamentally wrong with like these like tech stacks that just kind of build up. And the web world is a huge part, I'd say there's things that, from what they're saying, is like there's huge fundamental things wrong with that. Like, why does it take so long to open X program? Why does it take so long to whatever, right? So, and I think that's why, the web community understands that, and that's why you're seeing things like WebAssembly now. And that sort of thing, but like WebAssembly is probably also some other like weird intermediate thing. Like it says I don't know, but basically like, oh, we can't make browsers fast enough. So now let's just let the front end developers like do the assembly or whatever. Or maybe WebAssembly is a good thing. Maybe WebAssembly is a great thing. I mean, it sounds like a pretty good thing because, it sounds like you're getting towards more of a native kind of thing. But I still have a sneaking suspicion that WebAssembly really isn't something truly native. Like it's trying to act like it is. And I don't know. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Like I said, disclaimer on everything I say. I'm just some idiot. But all I will say is that I posted that link there. That's pretty cool. And some of the stuff they talk about is like things are just slow sometimes, like programs, whatever, just from years and years of like adding weird intermediate layers of programming and everything to make things more simple for people. Why is it often layers of top layers of technologies and intermediate languages to remedy a fundamental problem with the base language? Exactly, basically. Or like, why not just do the native thing rather? And they're talking more specifically about games, right? So obviously that's the people who make games in the AAA space, whatever, care about the performance, optimizing, squeezing every little thing out of every little instruction out of the CPU, whatever, out of the GPU, whatever. But yeah, as it's like, there's like, as you get to things that require less performance, I feel like there's just a lot of extra bloat and things that happen along the way, whatever. And I mean, that's why, like within the web community, it's like some new thing, every new technology that's like, this one's faster, this one's better, it's easier, it's leaner, it's meaner, like it's Angular. Oh no, now it's React. Everybody's got to use React. Now it's the one. Oh, now there's Svelte. I don't know how you say that. People pick dumb names for things, but it's like every time there's like some magic thing that's just like way better, But it's some sort of also language that's transpiled, compiled down to blah, 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 blah. Rolf, those that create game engines care about performance. Yes, many that use the game engines, not so much. Right. Well, yes. And I'm someone who likes to create game engines. So I'm working on my JavaScript game right now, and it's all kind of from scratch, right? So I care about performance, but I like being the one kind of in control of everything as much as possible. Like obviously it's a browser game, right? So I'm using browser APIs and whatever, but at the end of the day, I like doing everything myself as much as I can. So that's one of the reasons why I'm learning C and kind of that, because I'd eventually like to maybe start doing a game in C, that sort of thing. And doing it myself, not using as trying to go minimal on library usage and whatnot. But anyway, sorry, I've been talking too much about other stuff. But yeah, Rolf. Yeah, actually, Rolf. I mean, just more on what you said. Yes, like the people making games with game engines, like that should be a good. Like I agree, game engines should exist because there's a lot of cool things that happen that are made, right? And yes, the people that make them, you want them to be, geniuses, right? But you also want, maybe somebody who's just making a game engine doesn't program in a typical programming sense. Maybe they use Unreal Engine 4 blueprints and whatever, but they can more or less build the game they want, and they're great game designers, right? And you want them to be able, you want whatever's in their brain vomited out onto the internet for somebody to download their really cool game, right? Their cool indie game, whatever. Like, yes, game engines are very important. And I mean, that's one reason why we've seen such an indie boom, right? Of games. And I mean, that's why Unreal Engine 4 is free now, Unity is free, whatever. And there's other ones that are just free. That's awesome. And that's awesome. And that should be a thing for sure. All right, so I'm going to try to get back into whatever we were doing here. All right, well, we got our line count now. So we have our line count. Wow, I really thought about what I was trying to say there, didn't I? All right, I got to use the bathroom again. And I heard my wife get home from work, so I'm going to go say hi to her, use the bathroom. But don't worry, I'll be back briefly. All right, and we're back. Okay, so I'm going to get, I'm not going to do whatever I was doing before, ranting too much more here. I'd like to actually, sorry, bumping the mic here. I'd like to actually set out to achieve what we're trying to achieve here. So, okay. So we have our total line count now. And we are going to now I'm starting to think I don't really want this update function. Like I might just do it like inline or something. Because now I'm just getting this huge long thing where I'm passing all the variables. Yeah, let's just do this in our, let's just see about doing this right in line here. So we've got our loop here that is looping over our file and printing it to the console, right? And if I update this here, we should be able to get that going and see it in action. There we go. So we're printing our B from our text file here once a second. So you can see it maybe kind of flickering on that 1 second thing there. Maybe. I don't know what it looks quite like on stream. I see OBS flickering a little bit, so yeah, you can probably tell it's flickering. So what we need to do, what we're trying to do, I'll recap what I was trying to do. Oh, Wise Dolphin, my time's up for the day. Thanks for everything. See you next time. Hey, thanks for hanging out again, Wise Dolphin. I appreciate it. I really do. Yeah, have a good one. All right, so what I'm thinking we want to have for the animation, like what I'm just trying to target right now, or what I've set us up to do, is we pull in our ASCII art from our file, right? We read that into memory. So I've got our car pointer here. That's ASCII art source, right? So that represents our memory for that. This gets read in, the file gets read into, and we're not going to touch that. We're not going to, that's just going to be like our read only. So that's why I'm calling it SRC for source. But then we basically create like a duplicate sized chunk of memory here. We allocate a duplicate sized chunk of memory that's going to be DST. And that's going to be what actually gets printed to the screen. So I'd like to just do, like I do one printf in our loop. So right now I'm just printing the source array, right? So we're just printing our file, literally like the bytes just right out of our file with a little null terminator on the end so that it's a string. And then that's it. It's clearing the screen, printing to the screen, and then sleeping for a second, and rinse and repeat. But I'd want to have some animation that basically just maybe loop over each line, or have like, it would kind of like, for every iteration of our loop, it would like replace one line of our text. So like one line of the text here with like some other characters, right? So like wherever there's a character, a printable character in here, it'll like change it to a different character, you know? Something like that. So, and then what we'll do is we'll loop. So we'll have a nested loop here where we'll loop over our source array. And then we're going to have like our while loop here is going to also have some incrementer thing here. So we'll call this current line num int cur line num equals 1. So, or wait a minute. Now I have to ask that question again. Do I want to do it 0 based, or do I want to do it 1 based? Well, yeah, let's actually start at 0. So we're going to treat our first line as line 0. I think we want to do that. So the first thing we should do, yeah, actually this chunk is going to be down here. And this is going to change to ASCII art dest, right? So now what we want to do, so this kind of represents, this while loop represents like every frame, right? Like we're going to clear the screen and then draw the new frame of our animation, of our whatever, right? So yes, actually I like doing cur line number. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a new loop. We'll do a for loop in here. So we're going to do for int I equals 0, I is less than, yes. This is going to be representing drawing each, this loop is going to be taking care of drawing each line, I say drawing, but basically copying each line from our source array to our destination array. Our destination, well, I say array, but our buffer array, whatever. It's not literally array, it's just a chunk of memory that we allocate. But nonetheless, so we're going to be looping, actually, we kind of need to do two things here. We're going to need to check, actually this loop is going to be looping over the entire file size. Yes. Because this is going to be copying each byte. This is going to grab each byte from the source file and then put it into the destination, or from the source buffer into our destination buffer. But we need to, let's call this actually int cur line. We're going to call this line to update, line num to update, line num to update, or change. Call it change. So what I'm thinking right now is we're just going to, what I said before was we'll have the animation like go line by line and like line by line change some of the characters to something else. Like just one line out of the thing. Like it would just kind of look like a little line going down and kind of animating, right? Kind of animating, kind of. I said that very eloquently. So the line num to change is always going to be the line number we want to actually change the characters for, right? So we are going to do, okay. So we're looping over each character, right? And then we're going to increment our line num, or sorry, we're going to have a new, actually I'm going to create that up here. Cur line num equals 0. Just outside of that loop. Cur line num is okay, we'll do this. If okay. Actually, maybe I'll do this right at the end. If cur line num. So I'm going to do this kind of the... I'm going to do it... oh, actually, no, this would work either way, I guess, whether we're doing CRLFs or just LFs. Right now, my file is just in... Yes, I'm on Windows, but I am doing just LFs for new lines, new, 0As instead of CRLFs, which would be 0D, then a 0A, so 2 bytes. So we're doing just 1 byte. So I'm going to be checking against 0A. So if, okay, so that's not what I want to do. I want to do if ASCII art source I equals, we'll do new line. Then we are going to increment cur line num plus plus. Okay. Just like I have here. Okay. So this is just representing that, hey, we're going to go to a new line now. So, and I'm going to do that at the end of this loop. We're going character by character, byte by byte in our file, right? So let's do... the first thing we need to do... Well, actually, for every frame, or sorry, for every character, we're just going to copy it directly. So we're going to just do ASCII art dest I equals ASCII art source I. Right, so we're just copying source into dest right away. But we are going to do, we're going to do if, we're going to have another if here where if cur line num equals line num to change. Oh, wait a minute here. Oh, yeah, that is right. That is right. So if we're on the line number to change. All right, so first things first, we're looping byte by byte, right? This loop here is like frame by frame. So one draw to the console, and then, for every time we loop here. For every loop here, we're looping byte by byte for from our ASCII art, right? And if, yeah, yes. So basically, if the line num to change is our current line number that we want to make the bytes be different, right? So if cur line num equals line num to change, then so if we're currently on a byte that's in the line number we want to make different, make the characters different, then we need to change those. And I want to do, I don't want the spaces to be animated, right? I want the underscores, or I want any visible printable character, right? So I'm going to pull up a little ASCII table here quick, and I just want to see where the printable characters start. Okay, so we'll do above 20, basically if we're above 20. Well, there's also a delete, but whatever. I don't care about that. So if, that's kind of what I thought. Okay, so basically we've got an if, we're on the line we want to animate, and if, I guess I can do this all in the same, and Actually, I'll do a nested one here. Or this will probably just be a one-liner thing. If ASCII art, I guess we could say dest I is greater than 20, wait, 20 decimal? No, decimal 32 is greater than 32. I'll do hex because I know 20 in hex is space, so that's just more clear to me. All right, so Rolf is now following. Thanks, Rolf. Appreciate the follow, man. Thanks for hanging out too, and you've been very helpful, I must say. So I appreciate that. All right, so if our character that we are copying, we've copied, is greater than space in our ASCII table here, we want to change that to something else. So I actually need to pull up my, let me pull that up here. Okay, so this is the ASCII table I'm looking at. Which is always the first one that comes. I've been looking at this table for years. It's always the first one that comes up. Okay, so 20 hex 20 is space, right? So I'm just gonna keep the hex in there just because I don't know. I know hex 20 is space for some reason. I mean, otherwise I'd probably do 32 decimal, but anyway, so we. Basically, any character that's above space is going to be some number printable character, right? So if our byte value is above 20, then we want to change it, right? So I don't know what we want to change it to. Maybe just asterisks, or maybe not, because asterisk is hard to say. All right, so that in hex is 2a. So we'll make it 2a. So if it's 20 or if it's greater than 20, then we're going to change all those characters to equals 0x2a. Oh, actually, I could just do. Why don't we just do our literal string here? Oh, why is that 2? Oh. I need to do this. I did a string 2, but I need to just do, yeah, there we go. Int 42. Right, 42 on our table there. 42, there we go. All right, so that's another C noob thing that I just did there. I did a string of that, but that put the... But if we notice, okay, so when I do single quotes, that gives us the literal byte for that value, for that character, right? 42. But if we did a double quotes means string. So if I do that, it's an array of cars with length of 2. And that's because a string has to end in a null terminator or a 0 at the end, right? That's how you know something is a string of characters you want to print to the screen, right? So that's my C noob. I've been making a lot of C noob mistakes here today. But that one at least I understood. Okay, so we need to not do that. We just want to print this, the single. We want that specific exact byte value there, right? So if, and I guess what I could do is if it's greater than space, but that sounds kind of stupid. I don't know. It's 6 of one, half a dozen of another, honestly. So, okay, so in theory, we're good with this. So this is our byte by byte loop, right? We're looping byte by byte of our ASCII. And then if the current line, okay, so that's the thing we need to change now. And then in theory, everything should be working. So we have our current line number. So that, or okay, actually I'm just going to not confuse myself, I'm going to put that down here in the while loop just to make it clear for myself, whatever. So the line num to change, that needs to increment every frame. So basically line num to change is going to equal it's going to equal, I'm going to do a little ternary thing here. So line num to change needs to increment if the current line number oh no, it just needs to increment every time. Okay, what am I starting? I'm starting line num to change at 0. So I guess we could just do line num to change plus, and then just an if line num to change equals, so if we equaled 9, which would be line count. So if we're on line 9, we would have just animated line 9. And then we want to reset back to 0. So if we reach that last 9, because we're just going to be looping over all the lines, right, over and over again. So then we would just be resetting line num to change to 0. Yes, back to like what we have here. Okay, so in theory, that should be working. Now, I probably screwed something up. Let's just step through this loop again, right? Or let's step through our full loop. So we've got this while loop. So that represents, we've got that running right now, our old build of the program here running. So it's just printing this file basically to the screen once a second, right? It's clearing the screen and then printing it again, right? So that represents our frame. Our while loop here represents like each frame, the 1 second each frame, right? But what we want to do is we want to change we want to go line by line. So every frame will look like line by line. We are changing and maybe this will look terrible, but we're going to change like the characters of that line to some other character. I changed them to asterisks. That's actually probably a stupid character to change it to, but whatever. We'll play around with that once we know it's working. Oops. Okay, so what was I saying? So we're looping line by line, right? And we should have, well, yeah, I literally just said what I was trying to say. We're going to change like the characters of each line per frame to asterisks or to something else, right? We'll tweak it once we get there. Literally just duplicated exactly what I said before. So that's our while loop. Our big while loop here is doing that per frame by frame kind of thing, right? And we, at the very end, we clear the screen and we printf whatever's in our ASCII art destination buffer here, right? We'll have a nice string. And then we sleep for a second. So we hold it on the screen for a second, and then, you know, we're probably going to change that, make it a little faster to make it more interesting. But then we've got a for loop inside of our nice little while loop here. So this while loop's just infinite. It's just going to loop forever, right? That's what we want. We just want this to be a little animating program that just runs until you forcefully kill it. So we have another for loop, or another loop here, where we're looping byte by byte. So we've got our two buffers, our source and destination buffer. And our source, that takes the bytes from our text file here. And that just keeps, those are like, those won't change. So we read the file in from into memory, and that's our ASCII art source is our memory, and we just keep it like that, right? But then the destination one, that's the one that's going to get drawn to the screen, right? So it will basically copies all the bytes, but then if the line, you know, we have some variables here to keep track of which line we're on, which is just kind of annoying and messy deal with, but it's got to be that way. So this is our byte by byte copy. And then if it's current, if we're on the current line that we want to change, we want to update for that frame, then if the printed character there is not a space, if the character is not is greater up in our ASCII table than a space, then we're going to put an asterisk there. So basically, if it's a visible character there, we are going to change it to an asterisk. So let's just see what we got here. We're gonna try building this. It built. It compiled. Hey, it's working. I'll make sure it starts over again. It actually looks really stupid, but it works. So let's change this to something way more. Let's go to like 200 milliseconds or something. We've got something drawn on screen though. All right. Yeah, and the flickering is really annoying. I was talking about that flickering a little bit. Let's just double the speed again here. All right, so we're doing 100 milliseconds now. Yeah, the flickering is pretty annoying, actually. And the animation isn't really that cool anyway. All right, let's try. We're getting somewhere. We're achieving what we wanted. So let's see. Let me open this like in a. Let's open this in. A command. How? Let's, whoops, J cd / command line ASCII art, and let's just print it in here, brb.exe. Yeah. It looks like slightly better in there, but the flickering is still like really annoying. Trying to think of like what we could do to maybe get around that. Well, let's do. Let's see what happens if we change this to like spaces or something. Int 32. Build. Oh. I'll keep that there just in case. Okay, so because I had it running in the. Kind of interesting. Yeah, the flickering is just kind of just annoying though. My stomach's rumbling. Well, let's try something even faster and just see what we got here. Yeah, the flickering is just so annoying. Now we're starting to like get to a point where it looks like kind of cool, maybe. Like 50 milliseconds here is where it's kind of like it feels a little more like it's doing something. you know, let's try something like 16 milliseconds, you know, approximately 60 frames per second. Yeah, it's still like, if I change it to, let's go back to our asterisk again and see what it looks like here. Yeah, that looks dumb. GCC, okay. Oh, I didn't want to do that. Just out of habit. All right, so we've got we've got something working, which is nice. The one thing, maybe one thing would be, let's not, maybe we could try. Maybe we could try printing, instead of this, let's just see what this looks like. So instead of copying from our source to our destination right away, let's only copy from the source to the destination if that's our line. So let's only draw the line if we're on that current, if we're on our cur line num, right? Or the line num to change. So we're going to do dest I, oops, equals ASCII art source I, only if that condition's met. Just see what this looks like. Why does that not loop again? Oh, we're not clearing our, that's right, that's right. Oh, yeah, what we need to do here then is basically zero out our destination then. Oh, no, not zero. A space. We need to put a space in the destination because we want it to be invisible. Okay, so there, and then... Oh, we're undoing our new lines there. Okay, that's bad. All right, so that's not what I want to do. If, oh, okay, we just want to do, we want to copy everything directly again, just like this. So we're copying from our source buffer here, right, into our destination that will be drawn to the screen. But only if, okay, so we want to change, we don't want to change all the characters to spaces. We only want to change, we basically want to change if it's a, if it's greater than a space in ASCII value, then we change it back to a space. We're going to change it to a space. So I'll just do if ASCII art dsti is greater than 0x20, or I guess we can just do that. It's greater than that, then ASCII art dest I is going to equal space. Okay. And only if we're on the line num to change, then only then do we actually... yeah, this is... Okay, so how I'm doing this control flow here is dumb. We can clean that up, but this should achieve what we're... Okay, I'm undoing the new lines again. All right, this. This is annoying. All right, I'm probably going to wrap things up here in a bit. I'm getting really hungry. And this is just a little Saturday chill stream. And we basically I achieved what I wanted to achieve, which is good. I'm just doing some other dumb things right now. Oh. Yeah, this line needs to just go away. I didn't undo that line. See, I'm doing too many things here now. Okay. Yeah, there we go. So that's that's basically that. So it's every line's blank except for the current line drawing, which I think is actually kind of bad. Yeah. So let's go back to whatever we had before. So we kept this, we just copied the line, we got rid of this, and then we don't do this, and we do this, I think. Let's kill that, compile, and there we go. Okay. But then we changed it to like, what do we had it at 50 milliseconds, I think. Yeah. Yeah, so there we got something. I achieved what I was going for. The flickering is annoying because it's like it's a literal I got pit sweat there. No, yeah, maybe no. It's clearing the screen, and we are seeing like that instance of the screen being blank first, right? And then we draw the next frame and print that to the screen. So that's kind of the annoying thing, because if we didn't clear the screen, then it would just print a bajillion line, it would just print the same thing over and over again, which I guess it's printing a million of these, which I guess maybe and why is oh yeah, because we're not doing new lines and stuff at the end. We're not doing a new line. That's kind of interesting. All right. Well, we achieved what we were going for, so that's cool. I'd like to play around with this a little more, and then maybe eventually we'll have a little brb.exe that we can run. Let's fire it up in. Oops. Okay. So that's good. Is that good? Is that what I wanted? Yeah. Let's just fire it up here. So brb.exe. Yeah. And I guess if I, in theory, had the window just look like that, about that size, and we did it the other way, so let's kill that. Whoops, kill that. Get rid of the clear screen, because then you're not going to see the frames that were up above. Whoops, okay. We're drawing a bunch of them, so if we do brb.exe, yeah, in theory, that we would have it there and it wouldn't flicker. Like, obviously, I got a new line issue at the end. So we could maybe have it like that. I mean, I don't know if it's kind of a memory leak thing because I'm printing a bajillion of these to the console, but yeah. Because our console memory, that's I guess there's a line limit in the console. Now that I think about it, right? If we kill this, right? Line limit in here. Buffer size 54. Oh, that's command history. Yeah. All right. Well, it's kind of cool. We got something going. Yeah, I think I'm going to sign off for now. Like I was saying, we kind of got what I wanted for right now. But I'll play around with it some more, and maybe we'll have an actual BRB thing for the next stream. I don't know. But for right now, I think I'm going to get some lunch, and that'll probably be it for the Saturday stream. So once again, thanks to you guys, the community, reached Twitch affiliate now. So that's pretty cool. But once again, that's all thanks to you guys there. Beckitty, Smiley. Is that a smiley face you put in there? It's all weird. Anyway, all right. So thank you guys very much. Thanks for hanging out. Yeah, we'll see you guys on the next one. Oh, the next one will be Monday, so that'll be the no problem. Next stream will be Monday. Stream Mondays and Tuesdays typically for 6 hours or so ish, 5 to 6 hours. Mondays and Tuesdays, 10 a.m. You can see that you should see the schedule on Twitch, but Mondays and Tuesdays, 10 a.m. Central Daylight Time. Typically working on my JavaScript game, but yeah, today's stream, little C command line, ASCII art, whatever we called it, animation thing. So yeah, see you guys in the next one. Thanks for hanging out.